now, maybe even before doing the initial site visit, we can do some site selection, and we can skip down and do a satellite image to help us get a feel for what this school looks like. I like using Google Earth because I can just enter in a location and it zooms in and gives me a good satellite image. I know that this building here is the school. There's a good chance that we want the community up here to be able to see it, so I will probably want my image to include the neighbors over here, these buildings, the main highway or streets of the town, and the school. So we'll grab a rather broad area. Switching back to our document, and I want to insert that picture. It's just on my desktop. And the picture comes, and it's far too large. So if I can resize quickly. Resize quickly. Now when we go and do our site assessment, we can draw on this image and get a better idea when we're documenting where things are. We want to do an estimate of the wind speed, see if this is a good place. And again, this is maybe something you do in the application process. We have some recommendations again at the red triangle of where you can get assessment information. I'll be using the first one, which is First Look by 3 Tier Group. If I go there and switch to our location, the other important information is the hub height. You want to get it as close to where the turbine will be as possible, so the extrapolation error isn't quite as bad when it comes to the height. We have a range over here, 4.6 to 6.4 at 20 meters. We switch back to our document and say we're working at 4.6 to 6.4 at 20 meters. Down here we want to enter the terrain. By default it's many trees and few buildings. That applies to South Dakota, so we've made it the default, easy for us. But if you're working in an inner city area, you can change it to that as well. And that'll do the shear profile adjustments based on that information, and you can kind of see how the effects range. So if we leave it many trees and few buildings, it seems to be a fairly good description since we have some shelter belts around the school, but there are no immediate buildings in front where we're considering putting it. We'll probably put it on a 45-foot monopole. That tends to be pretty standard, but maybe we're looking at getting a 70-foot guide tower, so we'd like to know what could happen at that hub height. So we do an estimated wind speed range at hub height for the 45 and 70. That's why they're different. And then we switch it from meters per second to miles per hour because it's easier to talk to people in miles per hour. They tend to understand that a little bit better. Continuing on with the document, after we've skipped down and started at the bottom of this page doing the picture and the wind speed, but then we want to go back, and this is more when you're on site doing the assessment. You want to do, is it visible to students? Are they going to see it? Will the local community see it? How far is it? Is it a reduced distance? Is it easy to install? Because that can drastically affect costs. And then this is a recommendation for the current data acquisition system, but will be being updated in future versions. Maybe we can't meet that. A little evaluation tool that we've created, again with another comment for if you don't need 3 options. Let's go back to our Google Earth image, and down at the bottom I have elevation information and feet. Let's say we're going to put the turbine in somewhere in here. According to Google Earth, that's about 1,281 feet. Not too bad for an estimate, so 1,281. There's probably not a lot of variation on the site, but maybe there is. So now all of them are equal. Each one gets a green bar. but we don't have 3 options in this scenario. So let's say that these are just really ridiculous numbers, 5,000 feet away from where we need to be. Now if we enter the real numbers and say that our interconnection distance for this one is say 150 feet, and our wireless data transmission is 600 feet. We have a second option where the interconnection distance is a little farther away, 200 feet, but we can save significantly on our data transmission, getting it down to the recommended range. All of a sudden the options become color-coded, and option 2 seems to be favored, and we can make some comments about that. Maybe the elevation isn't quite accurate from our satellite image, and our option 2 is actually in a drainage ditch, which would be a poor foundation location. So we actually want to go with option 1, even though this program recommends option 2. We can make comments on that. Moving to the next page of this document, we look at towers, and we said we were looking at maybe a 45-foot monopole or a 70-foot guide. We've recently added an other column, and as more tower options become available, more options will be available here as well. So we need to select a tower, as our message says, and let's just say we talked to the school and they really like how the 45-foot monopole looks, so that's what we'll go with. Now our error message tells us we still have some information to do for permitting. For soil assessment, we have some information linked for the Smart Foundation and recommendations. Remember, this is a little comment, that concrete takes about 30 days to cure, so when you're doing your scheduling, keep that in mind, and maybe a reminder note here would be good. Permitting is generally required, so we can start walking through this process. It's required, we've submitted the paperwork, we've received it, and then we can document the date it was received. But maybe we haven't quite completed it. There's something not on this checklist and we're not done yet. So we still need to review permitting until we've finally checked the complete box. Now we've completed permitting and our error bar has gone away, saying we've completed this page with the necessary information. As we get to the construction phase, we can enter limitations or different considerations. Maybe a neighbor would prefer that the turbine be located in a certain area, and we want to be sensitive to those considerations. A tentative schedule, dates can be entered here, and some recommendations of various activities that need to be done. Again, the foundation takes 30 days to cure, so keep that in mind. And then you want to contact the media or public officials and let them know you're doing this project. They really like it and love to do stories or get a couple pictures of what's going on. A great record-keeping feature is the installation partners. Give credit to the people that are helping you out. Primarily organization. If it's an individual, they want to go on the first page, the contact list, because you want those details easily accessible.